There's a lot of technicians that don't know a lot about the insurance requirements that they need to have to do contract IT work. This is Michael with Field Tech Academy, and today I'm honored to be visiting with Michael Trupia of Country Financial. He is a financial advisor in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I wanted to visit with Michael about this to give you guys an education and give you guys a baseline of what you might expect and how to go to that next level in your IT contracting journey. So Michael, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Again, I'm Michael Trupia. I have an insurance agency here with Country Financial. I've had this agency be 19 years here in Tulsa.
Mr. Trupia is my agent for my general liability insurance, and I wanted to interview you and your agency because you guys have been really good to me. You guys have been very responsive, and I really respect a company that does high quality work.
Thank you. That's the goal, especially working with business owners, because your time it's a finite resource and you just don't have enough of it. And insurance could be either a burden or a benefit, and we try to be a benefit and a service to our business clients for sure.
Let's first of all talk just kind of basics for those who may not know that are watching. What is general liability insurance? How does it work?
General liability is exactly what it sounds like. It's the general activities that you could be exposed to. So it's not professional liability. It wouldn't be anything that, say, medical doctor having a malpractice suit. This is general liability exposure. So your slip and falls, your accidents, I destroyed a customer's wall installing something. This is liability to protect bringing you either to a job site or customers coming to your office or general location to provide liability for the what-ifs of now dealing with customers.
Several years ago, I had a technician who was in a multi-story hotel, and he was in the attic, and they had spray foam all in the attic, and they had PVC pipe for fire sprinklers or something like that. So it was all covered up, and it was laying across the studs. And so he was walking the studs, and he stepped around that plastic, and it just snapped off and just started gushing water. Then he gets out of the attic, which takes time, and gets down to the manager. The manager doesn't know how to cut off the water for the building. So it takes 30 minutes to an hour before they get the water off of that building. And so by then, the water had made its way down multiple floors, ruined multiple rooms, and my general liability insurance saved my bacon on that one.
Most often for business owners, the things that wind up happening are events that they never saw coming. Walking through an attic and stepping on a water pipe and flooding so when they're asking what is it for, I think our competitors do a good job with some of the commercials when you have all states havoc, or Farmers does some things where showing random obscure accidents that take place, and more often than not it's that. So when people are asking what is it for, we give a general term of it, but there's going to be something. As a business owner, on a random Wednesday morning, you're going to get a phone call from either one of your technicians or an employee or a customer, and something very random and uncomfortable has happened, and you think, wow, you would have never have thought that's what you needed your coverage for, but at the end of the day, that's what saved them.
So I think that a lot of my viewers are single operators, just one guy that is working maybe part-time or trying to get to full-time, or maybe working full-time by themselves. So is general liability insurance pretty easy to obtain for an individual like that?
It is. Sometimes now we're in what's called the hard insurance market, meaning that carriers don't have as big of an appetite to take on new risk. Startup businesses kind of make underwriters a little bit nervous. We want to see what's called loss runs. So there isn't anything that the insurance industry has as a whole to report claims to a centralized base. So the only way that claims get known about, it's self-reporting. So we have to ask your prior carrier for something called loss runs.
Right.
Well, on a startup business, there is no loss runs, right? So we don't really know exactly what this client's risk exposure or how good of a, do they have, are they apt to file claims? How well do they run this business? Do they know what they're getting into? So startup businesses, you pay a little bit more premium. to get going. But I think that's where working with somebody that you can have a relationship with, maybe have your personal lines insurance with, it gives the carrier a little bit more of a comfort to work with you. But I don't think people truly understand the risk exposure that the insurance company is potentially picking up for them.
Yeah,
So
because it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars.
tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And we collected $50 a premium.
So as far as you guys are concerned, it's not necessarily going to matter if a person is an individual versus them being an actual set up LLC business. You're really just looking at whether or not there are losses and potentially whether the guy knows what he's doing.
Exactly. As a business owner, one of the favorite books that I've read is E-Myth. And it really kind of transitions the business owner from stepping away and being the technician or something that they're good at and in their craft, and creating the business owner mindset. A lot of times, we get really good at our skill set, and then we go open our business for ourselves, and then you learn whether it's going to be taxes, starting an LLC, getting the correct insurance. So if it is something that you foresee yourself starting your business and you will eventually need your own insurance, I would immediately create a relationship with someone you know, like, and trust in that profession, and maybe meet with them in advance to see what we're getting into. Something that I always see is that, especially for contract style businesses, it almost seems like they get the insurance last. Someone's requiring it in order for you to do your job, right, and they want to see that certificate, and then it's like, oh yes, the insurance. A lady yesterday has a business, came in to get her insurance because a local vendor was requiring to see a certificate. Right. It's not as quick to maybe put a commercial policy together and approved and get certs out as, say, an auto policy would be for personal lines insurance. If you could at least give a couple of weeks, meet with that advisor that you know, like, and trust, and let them build a plan for you so you can learn too, what's my rate going to be, what all does it entail, how difficult is it going to be to acquire this insurance policy, and what are the things that we're going to look for.
I never really thought about the idea of the fact that you can get auto insurance, you can walk in and be done in an hour or so. So it's good to know that our techs need to think ahead a little bit to try to plan at least a week or so to get that whole policy moving, and of course the COIs. So you mentioned certs, and for those of you who may not know what that is, it's a certificate of insurance. So explain what a certificate of insurance is and how that applies when you got multiple clients.
So a certificate of insurance is just like your auto insurance verification card in your car. The only thing is that it's coming from the insurance company. You may have a client that you're getting ready to go do work for, and that person wants to know that you have that general liability. If I'm going to let you come into my business, or you're going to work with my customers, or we're going to work together at some capacity, before you enter this building or a customer's building or wherever your work may go, we need to know you have insurance. So that certificate has to come from the agent, from the agent's office, and what they want to see is that there's a certificate holder has been written on that certificate. So it's an insurance verification, and it's going to have the client's customer name and address on that certificate. So now the person that's hired you now has the peace of mind of knowing that this is an active policy. I can see the coverages all on the certificate. It'll show your limits, and it'll list your customer as a certificate holder, so they know that you have the right coverage to do the job.
I always thought it was interesting how every client wanted their own name on their certificate. Why would you say that every company really relies on that versus just having a straight certificate that says this company is covered or this person is covered?
They need to know that the insurance company knows where the work is being done, and that coverage is valid at that location for that company for that reason. A lot of customers or people that you're doing work for, they may have very specific verbiage that they want on that certificate.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had to send that to where they're like, it has to say blah, 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 blah.
Exactly. So they kind of hold the terms. They want to know that you have the right coverage. It may be because maybe their insurance company has said, we're not going to pay this, this, and this. So you need to make sure that if you have contractors coming to work, that their insurance is going to have this, this, and this. There's no system testing, right? So if you came into an insurance office and they gave you coverage today and printed you a piece of paper that said you have coverage for this whole year, they could have canceled the policy 6 months ago. But if there's an address along with the dates, then that customer knows that, okay, they got this policy, and it comes from us, you know.
Right.
A lot of times it's got to come straight from the insurance company versus printed and just handed to the customer.
When it comes to having multiple clients and having to have multiple certificates of insurance, is there a fee that an agent would charge to produce, 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 of those COIs?
Some companies will. So if you have 100 certificates, there may be a $10 certificate charge. When you need it, you know, and we don't charge to create a certificate, whether it's 1 or 1,000. You know, these are things you want to watch.
So let's say we've got an individual that has no commercial insurance history, and they're starting from scratch, and it's just a single guy going out and doing field work like what we do, where he's running cabling, replacing computerized parts, mounting TVs, things like that. Just as a general ballpark, so people have an understanding, what would they look at in terms of a monthly rate for general liability insurance for $1 or $2 million?
That's a great question. So, you would think that your coverage premium is going to be based off of what is the insurance company covering. If you don't have a lot of tools and equipment, maybe it's only $5,000, $6,000 of coverage to cover your equipment, your business personal property, at the job location, as well as maybe some office equipment at your office. Maybe it might not seem like the premium should be much. I'd say on average a startup policy for this type of business starting off could just be as little as $1,000 a year, $1,500 a year, something like that. The way that your rate is associated with the business is what the premium basis is. And a lot of times in contract style work, the premium basis is going to be payroll. So there's a minimum payroll. The minimum payroll is $19,200. That kind of determines what the rate's going to be. But now as the business grows, that's an indication that, okay, you're doing more work. The risk exposure is now growing. Then you hire people. Maybe you have subcontractors, maybe you have more people on the payroll. So a policy might start off $1,500 a year, and then your business just grew like wildfire, and now you have more payroll. That's going to equate to more premium. Then your policy will continue to grow as your business grows.
Let's say a guy has $5,000 worth of tools he's carrying around in the van. So would the general liability policy include that, or is that an add-on?
In our organization, our policies are package coverages. So it's going to have general liability and it's going to have coverage for business personal property. There are carriers out there that will just do general liability only. What you kind of find is, though, it's a very one-sided way to protect your business. That might get you in the door and allow you to do work. There's also specific coverages, obviously for your tools and equipment, but maybe damages to rented premises that you're going to get with a package policy for not much more premium. So buying, maybe a general liability only for your business, you're really not saving much money. And if something happens in your tools and equipment, your work truck gets stolen, your ability to do your job the next day just took a step back. And that difference of premium, it's only a few $100s a year to cover most equipment prices for a startup business.
That would be a big concern to me, is having my tools get stolen. I mean, I'm dead in the water as a technician. And that's one reason why I wanted to make sure that was covered.
Exactly. And I don't know if you come across it a lot where maybe you've gone to a vendor and bought a product to install for the customers, but now when that product is in your care, custody, and control till you install it, you're still kind of liable for that piece. You're probably not going to be able to call your customer up and say, I got bad news, I was at the gas station, someone stole everything inside my van, including your $15,000 piece of equipment that we were getting ready to install. And if they don't have that coverage, then you're out of pocket.
Well, that's interesting, because I do have clients that will actually ship equipment to me for me to hold until the install date. And so, I'll go to the site with 3 commercial grade TVs, and these aren't like $200 Walmart TVs. That's a good thing to know, and good thing for you guys to know.
Insurance has become this product that we've been conditioned to know that we get value if we pay the cheapest. You can almost get away with that on your personal lines. Really caution that on the business side. When we're talking about even business income replacement, if something was to happen where your business can't operate, having income to replace what the shutdown was. If someone stole your tools and equipment, we can even replace your income while you were shut down to
go to the
get
store,
back on your feet.
go buy everything. Yeah.
Any disruption, disturbance to your business, it's truly your money machine. Your insurance needs to be built and constructed to protect specifically your unique practice and how you're doing it. Often things may seem like you're saving money, but it might be because your current policy that you were working with had some extra coverages that when you went to online and shopped it around or whatever you did, maybe you didn't know to add contractors, tools, and equipment to make sure your coverage goes where you go. So you can add business personal property coverage. That's going to be very specific to the address on the policy. But then the moment that gets, in a vehicle and travels with you, the coverage is not traveling with it unless you had that extra endorsement.
When I set up my policy, you and your agency gave me counsel to say, hey, you need to cover these particular items because these are areas of risk. I've got the tools in the van, we're traveling to sites, we're carrying equipment that doesn't belong to us, on top of the fact that there's just the general liability if somebody trips on one of our ladders while we're at the site and things like that. And I think you guys really helped me with that. There's always a difference in cost versus value.
Yeah, it's 100% correct. I think as we go forward in the future with technology, I think there'll be a lot more of trying to replace the local agent to some capacity, but I don't think you can ever really replace this and the understanding, because each business is unique. You can check the box and say you have it, but your business is so different from the person next door who may be in the same exact industry. How do you know that those bad days aren't going to be covered for you? Sometimes that initial rate up front might not represent how much the whole policy is going to cost as you work it throughout the year. A lot of the extra things is working with the client as their business is growing. So who's checking up on you? So I kind of compare it to paying your taxes. If you're starting your business and you're kind of estimating what your income is going to be and you kind of estimate what your taxes are going to be, but then if you never looked at it again until the end of the year when the business was actually triple what you thought it would be, then you're left with this large tax bill that maybe you weren't prepared for. So we do a service where we're checking in on our clients at least once a year for our established clients, multiple times a year for our startup type companies, because how is their business now growing and how should we update that premium along the way so we don't get to the end of the year where you now have to fill out an audit. And a lot of times for people just starting their first commercial policy, they may not be familiar with this audit process. They get audit doesn't really carry a very attractive name to it.
Right, it has a negative connotation.
It does. So when they're receiving it, they're like, what is going on? Why are you guys auditing me? And they don't even really understand what we mean when we say audit. And what we're doing is we're auditing the premium base. So was it based off of sales? Was it based off of payroll? And at the end of the year, we sure up, right? So if we based your premium off $60,000 of payroll and you actually submitted your payroll reports and it was $200,000, then we have to charge more premium for that past year. And that often doesn't set well because now it's premium owed from the past.
Right.
And now we have to also recalibrate that rate going forward. So, if we can at least touch base, or I ask business owners, we're going to try to reach out, but also reach out to us too. Maybe it could just be a one-off thing. You get a nice contract that caused you to hire a bunch of subcontractors. You don't know if you'll get that business again next year, but let's make sure we're accurately updating that in the premium. So now when you are charging for your bid, you're associating all costs now and not charging your customer a rate and then find out that job actually cost you more money than you knew because the insurance was now another additional cost.
So a lot of guys, I think, are hopefully trying to grow their business, and to start off with, I think it's attractive for guys to say, well, I'm just going to hire some kid to come in as a subcontractor. I'm not going to bother with setting up payroll. and doing taxes and all that stuff. Does having an independent contractor yourself, somebody that is contracting with you rather than being an employee, does that affect general liability insurance policies?
Again, why you want that local advisor, someone with a relationship, you're not going to be able to ask the computer that question. It will. The rate for the 1099 is more expensive than the rate for a W-2. So your insurance costs are less if you were going to pay one person $50,000 a year. If you paid them $50,000 a year as a W-2, now granted there's payroll costs and things like that, versus $50,000 as a 1099, it's going to cost you more money to do it as a 1099.
Some of our clients require workers' comp, but is workers' comp really something you can get if you're all by yourself, if you're just a single person?
A lot of times single individual contractors may be needing to have workers' comp to do a job. And there are policies and certificates that we can send to kind of allow that person to get the job without fully acquiring a full workers' comp policy. But I would say that if you're in business and you have an LLC, even though if you don't think you'd ever want to file a claim on yourself, you should. Because if you got hurt on the job site, a lot of times your health insurance may not pay full part of your medical claim if you were hurt while at work. You may be having some exclusions there. The other part of workers' comp beyond paying your medical bills is replacing your income. And if you're the technician and you physically can't do the work, then you've also now can't get the income. It's not as expensive as most people think it is, especially if your physical body is required to do the work. Definitely add a work comp policy with it.
Can you give any kind of ballpark of what kind of annual cost that could be for a single operator?
I always kind of start with that $1,500, $2,000 a year premium basis. It really is going to go against how much payroll we're covering. It's funny, the closer a policy gets to you, the more important and forthright somebody wants to be with having the right coverage.
Yeah, they start caring a lot more, don't they?
Right. When it's general liability and we say the premium basis is going to be off your payroll, the minimum's $19,200. They may say, put that down, that's good, that's probably, we'll figure that out. Now, if it's workers' comp, this is going to be the benefit that's going to help you.
Right.
Let's make sure we get that payroll correct. And it's like, well, maybe we should have it a little bit higher. Another reason why you want that local advisor, I've had clients that use like QuickBooks, and QuickBooks offers the option to purchase workers' comp, but as you enter more payroll, it will keep up with your workers' comp. The problem with that is work always consistent? So if you entered in a lot of payroll for a job, temporary hiring or something like that, that may have just increased your workers' comp. Now, you can get your money back if you don't, but it's really hard to cash flow that strategy. I think, doing semi-annual checkups, meeting with your advisor, let them ask those questions and provide a plan for you to construct the right workers' comp as well.
So the sense that I'm getting overall is relationship, relationship, relationship.
It is. The hardest client to help is the one you don't know much about. And if you don't know much about them and they don't know much about you, inevitably we get to the end and something now just doesn't work. Clients always think they have all the coverages they need the day they file the claim, and then they're surprised when the claims adjuster says, well, you didn't have this coverage. Like, well, what do you mean? I thought I had everything. Well, we got to spend a little time getting to know one another and making sure you have exactly what you need, and we know what your business is and you know what you have.
I feel like you offer a lot of value. Country Financial is obviously a national company in the United States here. If one of my viewers wanted to explore getting insurance, is that something that they can come to you for, or would they need to speak to someone, in the national office?
No, definitely reach out to me. If it's not in a state that I can do business in, I can get you directed with a contact or a local agent in that area.
Well, I've found that Mr. Trupia has been an amazing agent, an amazing agency, so I would personally recommend that you give him a call.
Well, thank you.
And at least give him a chance for your business. Well, again, Mr. Trupia, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us and give us some education on general liability insurance, workers' comp, and audits. I think this will help my viewers to be able to make better informed decisions.
That's perfect. Great service, great platform, and I appreciate getting to work with you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Thank you.
If you would like to contact Mr. Trupia to see if he can provide you general liability insurance, I will include all of his contact information in the description of the video. If you'd like to connect with me, you can go to my website at fieldtechacademy.com. I offer one-on-one coaching and some downloads that can help you with your Field Nation and work market profiles. I also have a direct client package that is available for purchase that can greatly expand your income opportunities in the independent contracting IT field. As always, let's get you out in the field making money. I'll see you in the next video.